Very good evening to everyone present here. So, are we ready? First of all, I will like you all to please applaud for Sanjay ji for coming up with such. I was just telling him it's a completely new thought. Just to introduce myself, my name is Shubhojit Sen and I am a member of the PR committee, and we have been growing very strongly under the aegis and guidance of Sanjay sir. Actually, he has been responsible for getting the PR fraternity also to be part of this committee. So I thank you a lot, sir. Basically, I'm into the field of public relations, and always people feel that public relations and advertising are adversaries, two sides of the coin. कि advertising में budget शायद थोड़ा कम होगा तो PR वालों को budget मिलेगा. But with the guidance of Sanjay sir, because he has been developing courses here at AMA in the past, and on one fine day I received a call and said that I want to introduce PR as a subject, and you pick it up and try to teach from a different perspective to all the students about what PR is. Always the advertising fraternity professional can talk a lot about PR, but he wanted them to experience the struggle and the challenges we face. So that is how the genesis of how advertising and PR are not adversaries, they are both a communication tool, and that whole seed was planted on one fine morning by Sanjay sir. So I thank you again for sir. In the morning I received this call and I said I am not going to miss this opportunity. Sanjay sir first said that keep it very short and simple, but PR और advertising के बीच में space का problem हमेशा से रहता है, right? I've been given a little bit of a script, and believe me, it's not never going to be enough. So I want to ask, how many of you have actually listened to or being mentored by or have heard about Sanjay sir in the past? Can we just raise our hands? So there are some friends who are new, who are going to experience the magic. Thanks all for coming in. So for the benefit of you, I will quickly read through what Sanjay sir's profile has come to us. A very skilled and professional entrepreneur, Sanjay ji has been the force behind the success of many brands of repute. He is an author, a columnist, a TEDx speaker, a professional quizmaster, coach and mentor to many giant corporates. Sanjay sir has left an indefinite footprint in the success of thousands of brands globally. Gujarat has always been an entrepreneurial hub of activities. You pick up any field and you will see Gujarat there on the map. And here is one gentleman who has brought actually the brands and Gujarat in the map of advertising. So please let's have one round of applause for that also. I was also lucky when I was a part of Divya Bhaskar group. Triton Communication was the agency which planned this whole, the media plan and strategy, and Sanjay sir was there, guiding and mentoring us during that time also. Since 2015, he heads SK Consultancy as its founder. SK advises clients on advertising, branding, communication, sales and marketing, providing strategic breakthroughs to them. And very interestingly, sir always wants to spread knowledge, and he is into also the Limca Book of Records for actually, he's a multiple award winning branding and communication professional, but this Limca Book of Record he holds for going to maximum number of colleges and management institutions and trying to tell them what he has been experiencing through his life. So that's a great thing, sir. I really congratulate you for that. And without taking much of the time, so I took this 2-3 minutes extra so that I can also have my PR feelings come out. I will like to just honor him on our behalf. And so usually you come to hear about successes and wins and stories, but here is an interesting story on how and why brands fail. Over to Sanjay sir for his speech.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, Shubhojit, for, as I say, a lot of elaboration of the introduction, which actually enhances the expectation of the audience sitting here. उनको ये लगता है पता नहीं क्या होने वाला है, right? So I am not here to do any magic. Neither I usually say not a Baba who will tell you some updesh, and neither a doctor will say 2 pills a day, and you will learn everything in this world, right? So I'm not going to do that, and I'll just share what I read or what I experienced in the market. I'll share it with you. And I always felt कि success तो ठीक है, but failure से भी काफ़ी कुछ सीखा जा सकता है. Okay, are you all ready? Yes. Okay, good. It's very good to see, after 2-3 years, people here, and I'm meeting a lot of old friends who come here. It is very motivating for us, right? That's the best part. ये presentation तो होता रहता है, but the most important part is that we all meet, right? And I wish everyone does the same thing for coming years. I'll start with a nice video. Yeah, so you all are with me? Yeah. So why brands fail? Okay, I'll show you a slide and let me know what comes to your mind, okay? Just imagine. Something wrong? Yeah? Okay. Just imagine this. Yeah? What comes to your mind? Let's interact here. So what is wrong in this? Contradictory. Why? What is happening in contradiction like?
Where used, tomato where used.
So there's some image in your mind, right? So you cannot imagine that there can be a tomato ketchup which is the brand name of Harpic, right? So why brands fail? That's why brands fail. Yeah, because you don't understand that it is just not the name, but it's beyond name. So before we start to talk about why brands fail, I have been usually talking to a lot of my students that let us find out what is a brand first. Okay, that's very, very important. What is a brand? So can someone tell me what's a brand? Yeah, anything which comes to your mind? Yeah, the young crowd here. Yeah, please, piche. You can, I need to hear you, bus. What else? When they view a business, it is achieved by someone, yeah.
Let's say I am going to say about noodles. The first thing that is going to come to any of my mind is going to be Maggi.
Okay.
That is the power of the branding.
Okay, so what do you study?
I recently finished
Okay. Oh, great. Now somebody was raising hand in the front, yeah. Yeah, please, something comes to your mind. Jaldi jaldi bolte hain apan.
I want to just add to it.
Yeah, please.
That brand is a perception of a consumer in his mind.
Okay.
Products are made in the factory, but brand is
Oh.
made in the head.
Book, chapter number? Yeah, I got it, yeah. So before we enter into this, yeah, you want to say something?
So I would like to say that brand is a legacy
Oh,
which carries on after years and years and builds the reputation in the market.
yeah. So, there are a lot of non-branding guys, and I've been giving this example to many of my sessions. So I'll once again try to do that, right? These are 2 mineral water bottles filled from the same bottling plant. One is called Bisleri, the other one has no label. Which one will you buy? Bisleri? Okay. Now, Bisleri is costing ₹10, the other one ₹8. सस्ता है 2 रुपये, आप कौन सा खरीदोगे? Which one? ऐसा? Okay, I'll do one thing. I'll give you a sales promotion. Free. साथ में बिकता है ना, मार्केट तोड़ डालेंगे हम लोग फ्री देके. तो फ्री देके मैं मार्केट तोड़ता हूँ. कौन सा खरीदोगे आप? तो वो जो बिना लेबल वाला आप क्यों नहीं खरीद रहे हो? या अच्छा क्यों नहीं खरीद रहे हो जिसमें कोई लेबल नहीं है? ट्रस्ट है. लेबल लगाने से ट्रस्ट आएगा ना? तो मैं आपको एक लेबल भी देता हूँ. चलो, अब ट्रस्ट आ गया? नहीं आया ना अभी भी बिस्लरी चाहिए. ट्रस्ट नहीं आ रहा. आपने बोला ना लेबल नहीं, इसलिए हम नहीं खरीदेंगे. ठीक है, तो आप क्यों खरीद रहे हो? ये लेबल वाला बिस्लरी जो है उसको आप क्यों खरीद रहे हो? एस्टाब्लिश्ड. ओके. सेकंड, Value for money. Value for money is okay. Yeah, and what else? What else?
Because of experience,
Experience of what? Having water again and again and you buying it. What else?
long history of
Long history of it. Then peace of mind, trust, quality, health, assurance, everything. So why I am buying? Because there is a trust, there is reliability, there is peace of mind, there is quality. ठीक है? But actually mineral water तो किसी ने खरीदा ही नहीं है. Every bought except mineral water. You bought trust, you bought reliability, you bought quality, you bought peace of mind, but nobody bought mineral water because mineral water तो दोनों एक ही प्लांट से भरे हुए थे ना. मैंने आपको बोला दोनों एक ही प्लांट से भरे, आपको मिनरल वाटर खरीदना तो आप ट्रस्ट खरीदने लगे, आप रिलायबिलिटी खरीद रहे थे, आप क्वालिटी खरीद रहे थे, आप पीस ऑफ माइंड खरीद रहे थे, और उसके लिए आप पैसे भी ज़्यादा देने को तैयार हो, लेकिन आप पानी नहीं खरीद रहे हो. इट इज एग्जैक्टली व्हाट हैपेंस. दैट इज द परसेप्शन विच यू हैव, दैट इज द इमेज विच यू हैव, राइट? पक्का ना? एनीबडी वेयरिंग अ वॉच हियर? या विच इज द ब्रांड? फॉसिल. 5,000 रुपये का से तो ऊपर का ही होगा ये, राइट? फॉसिल. वो जो लाल दरवाजा में या जीएलएस के बाहर जो घड़ी बेचते हैं 200 रुपये का, उसका टाइम और ये फॉसिल का टाइम दोनों में अलग है क्या? एक ही है ना सर? सर ऐसा कैसे? तो फिर आप फॉसिल क्यों खरीदते हो? टू शो दैट योर टाइम हैज कम. एम आई राइट? एम आई राइट? अदरवाइज तो टाइम के लिए तो कोई खरीद ही नहीं रहा है ना. टाइम के लिए खरीदना हो तो 200 रुपये का घड़ी जो है, विच आई वुड हैव बॉट इट फ्रॉम जीएलएस या उसके बाहर से. वाई एम बाइंग दैट फॉसिल एंड आई एम वेरी प्राउडली सेइंग फॉसिल. See the confidence the person has to say that I got a brand which I possess. So is he buying it to see time? No. Beyond that, he wants to show that he is arrived in life, or you know he उसका time आ गया, तो उसके लिए हम बात करते हैं. So that is what happens with brands. So Fossil is a brand which is people are ready to pay 5,000 rupees not to see time, but to possess that, right? हम गाड़ी लेते हैं तो घर से ऑफिस और ऑफिस से घर जाने की तो मारुति 800 भी अच्छी है, बट फिर लोग ऑडी क्यों लेते हैं? ऑडी तो बहुत एक्सपेंसिव होती है, पेट्रोल भी नहीं. कई ऑडी के ब्रांड में तो ऑक्टेन फ्यूल होता है जो हवाई जहाज में होता है, और बहुत कॉस्टली होती है, उसमें पेट्रोल कंजम्पशन बहुत ज़्यादा होता है. तो फिर क्यों ले रहे हैं हम लोग? हमें तो घर से ऑफिस ही जाना होता है ना. नहीं, वी बाई इट बिकॉज वी हैव ड्रिवन इन लाइफ, राइट? दैट्स व्हाई यू शुड वांट टू शो दैट, एंड दैट इज द रीजन यू बाय एन ऑडी. दिस इज व्हाट हैपेंस व्हेन यू हैव ब्रांड्स. अब समझ में आ रहा है ब्रांड्स का इंपॉर्टेंस कितना है? It is the person, is the image. Okay. Now quickly going to another example which I have been giving. ये आपको लोगो दिखता है? क्या दिमाग में आ रहा है आपके? अरे न्यूज़ तो आ रहा है, उसके अलावा मसाला न्यूज़, रजत शर्मा, गॉसिप, एलियंस, पहाड़ में, सब कुछ आ रहा है ना. और ये देखते क्या आ रहा है? सोफिस्टिकेटेड, ऑथेंटिक, जेन्युइन, ये आ रहा है. पर दोनों का रॉ मटेरियल तो एक ही है ना. न्यूज़ इज न्यूज़. If Sanjay Chakravarti is delivering a session at AM, it is as good as to India TV also, to BBC also. Same news है. मैं अगर 9th फ्लोर से गिरता हूँ तो वो न्यूज़ सेम BBC के लिए भी और इंडिया टीवी के लिए. फिर दोनों अलग अलग कैसे हो गए? The way you present it, the way you create an image. So 25 to 30 years back, when Rajesh Sharma started this, he very well knew that there's a big market. There's a big market. There's a big market of news which is a masala news. Otherwise news are always all mundane. तो कुछ मसाला होना चाहिए. तो न्यूज़ क्रिएट किया. तो न्यूज़, एज समबडी सेड, द ब्रांड इज अ विजन. सो यू माइट बी हैप्पी इफ आई टेल यू दैट इंडिया टीवी वाज कंसिडर्ड एज ए गॉसिप चैनल, तो यू विल बी द हैप्पीएस्ट पर्सन बिकॉज दैट इज अ विजन. ही न्यू जब मुझे लक्स के अंडरवियर और बनियान की ऐड करनी है तो इंडिया टीवी में आना है. जब जॉकी देखते हैं तो मुझे बीबीसी में जाना है. जब मुझे मारुति 800 करना है तो मुझे इंडिया टीवी में आना है. और जब ऑडी करना हो तो मुझे बीबीसी में जाना है. और हम सब जितने भी सोफिस्टिकेटेड लोग बैठे ना यहाँ पे, दे हैव सीन मोर नंबर ऑफ टाइम इंडिया टीवी देन बीबीसी. पक्का ना? So that is what people know. That is the vision. That is the image which has been created. In fact, making a news for India TV is more difficult than BBC. BBC जाके बोलेगा सर वो 9th फ्लोर से गिर गया तो लगा दो न्यूज़. इंडिया टीवी वाला सर 9th फ्लोर से गिर गया तो उसको निकाल देंगे. बोले नहीं, इंटरव्यू है क्या उसके बाजू वाले का, कौन सा कपड़ा पहना, कौन सा क्या करा, everything has to be. So you have to create a masala news because you have to maintain the image which you have thought about. That's the very important point, right? So what is a brand? A brand is more than a name or a symbol. Name or a symbol of the POPOB was working now. It was not working because we wanted Bisleri to be there. Same way, it is the physical and the psychological attribute of a product which a consumer perceives. So physical attribute क्या था? Bottle, उसका पानी, उसका ढक्कन was the physical attribute. Psychological attribute क्या है? Image, peace of mind, then quality, assurance. These are all the attribute, right? So very interestingly, there is a quote which says, "Building age and become dilapidated, machines wear out, people die, but what lives are brands. So they will always live forever in your world, right? So when you talk about brand, a brand is a perception, as somebody said here, is an image. ठीक है ना, जब मैं आपको हार्पिक का टोमेटो केचप दे रहा था तो नहीं मुझे नहीं खाना है, because there is an image of that brand. It is just not the name, it has an image for that. Brand is a trust, faith and emotion. Brand provides mental patent. हम यूज़ करते हैं लेकिन हमें पता नहीं क्यों पी रहे हैं, या क्यों हम पी रहे हैं, मतलब मैं चाय की बात कर रहा हूँ, ठीक है, वो मतलब आप बोले सर आपने तो गुजरात में पीने की बात कर दी है ना, मतलब हम कुछ चाय पीते हैं या कोल्ड ड्रिंक लेते हैं, हमें पता नहीं होता यार ये अच्छा लगता है, पता नहीं यार क्यों लेता हूँ यार, है ना, वो आप खाड़े का दाल वड़ा होता है, वो उसका ब्रांड एक अपना, ठीक है, वहाँ पे यार खबर नहीं यार बहुत मज़ा आवे यार यहाँ, तो उसका एक ब्रांड इमेज है, तो दैट इज द मेंटल पेटेंट. ब्रांड आर इज एन ओवरऑल एक्सपीरियंस. इट्स जस्ट नॉट द नेम, it is the experience of buying it is also a brand which is called, ठीक है. So your brand is the single most important investment you can make in your business. Believe that. Gujarat के examples लो आप, Hammer got sold in 1200 crore. Maybe the company was of 350 crores. But why did it get sold? Because of the brand. That's the most important asset or the investment you can ever make it. I got a neighbor who makes Nike shoes. One fine morning he comes and he sells it in 5,000 rupees per pair. One fine morning he comes to me and tells me that मैं आपको वैसे जूते बना के दूंगा लेकिन नाइकी का लोगो नहीं लगाऊंगा, तो मुझे कितना देना चाहिए, 500, 1000? What am I paying for 4,000 rupees for that equity? So it is the single most important. So people sitting here, if you think branding तो मोटा माणसों ना काम છે, ભૂલી જવાનું. It starts from day one. It is for everyone, right? So there's some bad myths. So कुछ गलतफहमी है ब्रांड के ऊपर. गलतफहमी ये है, if the product is good, it will succeed. No. If you don't have an image, it will not succeed. Right? Brands are more likely to succeed than fail. हमारी ब्रांड है तो चलने ही वाली है यार, आपका ब्रांड है यार. No, there is lot of concentration, lot of ध्यान देना पड़ता है उसके ऊपर. Big companies will always have brand success. It's a myth. Big companies can also make mistakes. Strong brands are built only by advertising. Advertising कर दो तो ब्रांड चल जाती है, ये भी गलत फहमी है. Because you have to have the proper mix of 4 P's of marketing. मालूम है 4 P's of marketing क्या होता है? Product, price, place and promotion. You have to have a perfect blend of that, then only it can be successful. And the culture is that you may have the greatest brand, but if you have the internal communication not working very well, the brand may not work. Giving you an example, a brand may be big and you deal with a brand, and when the payment comes, they lose your bill. Right? You chase it up, people don't pay you, they start negotiating you. The brand image doesn't get built up like this. It is an overall experience, as I was telling. It is to see the culture. What is the culture of your brand? You may come out with a good advertising, create a image in the minds of people, but when I interact with the brand, I may not get it, what I want, right? So if something is new, people think ये brand में बहुत बड़ा myth है कि कुछ नया है तो बिक ही जाएगा. ये गलत फहमी है. Strong brands protect products. No, products can protect your brand. अगर आपकी brand बहुत strong है तो उसका मतलब नहीं कि आपका product चल जाएगा. Product can help you in cultivating the brand. Have a seat there, पीछे बैठ जाओ आप लोग ऐसी जगह, या कुर्सी खिंचवा लो ना अजय भाई. ओके आगे आ जाइए आप लोग. ओके, so very quickly coming to the topic, today's topic, why brands fail. Okay, consumer don't truly believe there is a huge difference between products. Majority of the products are me too. अपनी दुनिया में जो भी प्रोडक्ट्स है ना मी टू है, जो वो दे रहा है वो भी बेनिफिट में दे रहा हूँ. आपका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्रोसेस कुछ अलग हो सकता है, बट एक्चुअली अल्टीमेटली जो बेनिफिट मिल रहा है वो सेम ही हो सकता है. सो दे आर एक्चुअली मी टू. सो विच मीन्स ब्रांड हैव टू एस्टेब्लिश इमोशन टाइज विद देयर कंज्यूमर्स. वो बिस्लरी पानी है ना, दूसरा भी बिस्लरी पानी बना रहा है यार, प्रोडक्ट तो मी टू है, लेकिन आप बिस्लरी क्यों खरीद रहे हो? बिकॉज देयर इज अ इमोशनल टाई विद दैट. So that's why branding is very important, right? However, emotions aren't to be messed up with. Once a brand is created, a necessary bond, it has to be handled with care. जब आपका एक अच्छा image बन गया है, तो you have to handle it with care and not willing to. And if you make any mistake, the consumer is not willing to forgive you ever. This is ultimately why all brands fail. Sometimes happen to break the bond between the consumer and the brand. So if there is a break between the consumer and the brand, it may break. So कई बार it is not always the fault of the company. There may be really good reasons of your failure. It can be global recession, international disaster. Fine, उसको हम छुएंगे नहीं. but there are many other reasons. Okay, so let's talk why brands fail. बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग है कि अलग अलग तरीके के ब्रांड फेलियर्स होते हैं. मैं ब्रॉडली आपको बताऊंगा एंड देन आई विल टेक यू टू द एग्जांपल्स. सो व्हाई ब्रांड फेल्स, देयर इज समथिंग कॉल्ड पोजीशन एमनेसिया. वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग वर्ड. सो व्हाट इज पोजीशन एमनेसिया? व्हाट डज दैट मीन? Position amnesia is when a brand forgets what it is and what it stands for. Okay, and it tries to experiment with the identity and positioning to an extent that takes totally different route. जो आपकी इमेज है, आपकी एक पोजीशन है, वो भूल जाता है. एमनेशिया होता है ना, भूल जाता है वो कि क्या है. एंड दे एंटर इनटू समथिंग टू एक्सपेरिमेंट, फॉरगेटिंग कि जो इन्वेस्टमेंट किया अब तक उसको भूल जाते हैं वो. तो वो एक वेरी डेंजरस थिंग टू एन ए रीजन ऑफ ब्रांड फेलियर. आई विल गिव एन एग्जांपल. ओके, let me ask you, okay, it's a question to you. What did the SunTrust Bank in Atlanta have in a safe deposit box between 1925 to 2011? ऐसी क्या चीज़ थी एटलांटा में, SunTrust बैंक में, in the safe deposit box? And the hint is everybody might have consumed at least once in a lifetime. ऐसी क्या चीज़ है वहाँ पे एटलांटा में? हिंट दूं मैं, आप एटलांटा में किसका हेडक्वार्टर है? विच कंज्यूमर प्रोडक्ट? या प्लीज. या कोको कोला, द फॉर्मूला. सो आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट कोको कोला. व्हाट कोको कोला डिड? ओके, कोको कोला फॉर्मूला नाउ डिस्प्लेड इन द वर्ल्ड कोको कोला म्यूजियम इन एटलांटा, राइट? सो आई विल टेल यू हाउ ब्रांड had a amnesia. What they did, they came out with over 1 billion drinks sold every day. Coca-Cola is surely one of the most loved brands in the world. Okay, it is also committed one of the biggest marketing blunders of all time. In the late 1970s and early 80s, it was evident that Pepsi had a better marketing campaigns and planned to win first position from Coca-Cola. So they did a aggressive marketing and they had taken over the Coca-Cola and they gained their position number 1 in the world. So what did Coca-Cola do? Product amnesia, what happened? Hence Coca-Cola, instead of modifying their marketing strategies, saw the only solution of the problem was to introducing a new Coke with a better and improved taste. So they came out with a new product. Instead of improving their marketing strategies, they came out with a new Coke. By launching new Coke, Coca-Cola contradicted its previous marketing efforts for 50 years. So they stood for something and they changed the taste and everything and to their original, but they were forced to come back to their own original product. This being the only reason the new Coke was boycotted and the company was left with no option to bring back the original product. That's an interesting case. So you forget what you stood for. So that's called, position amnesia, where you forget what you are for. And you start coming out with something new and improved and you try to think. So instead of improving a marketing strategy, you did that. There's an interesting case of Coke. Another word called Icarus paradox, where you become very overconfident about your product, about a brand. That can be a reason of a brand failure. Give an example. First of all, let me explain what is Icarus paradox. It refers to Greek tale of Icarus who burnt his feathers after flying too close to the sun, even though he was warned against it. Right? Similarly, many big companies often burn their wings because of their overconfidence and extensive and unscientific use of some rule which is thumb rule. And there may be some rules which they have used in the global market and they have reached the top, but they are becoming overconfident in that. So I'll give you an example. Before that, I'll give you some hint. Let me ask you. Identify the brand. Right? So see, Kellogg's was the brand. So what mistake they did in India? Failures of Kellogg in India. The price was kept too high to convince Indian consumer to consider as a daily meal and make a repetitive purchase. The product was bought just as a novelty. Whenever you buy ना, थोड़े change के लिए आप खरीदते हो. आपके breakfast table में अभी भी Kellogg's नहीं आया है. And they used this all across the world, but they were not successful in India because the price was overpriced. ठीक है? Kellogg's overlooked the Indian habit of having boiled and sweetened milk, which made the crispy flakes go soggy, as the company designed their product to be accompanied with cold milk. So the eating habit in the morning breakfast is not as Americans in India. So that miserably failed. So Kellogg's enforced its established position strategy of being morning breakfast. So लोग पूरे दुनिया में they are considered as a morning breakfast, and they wanted to force it to Indian consumer also. which was no match in the usual gus-busting breakfast in India. So that is what the brand is failing. Understood? So they become overconfident. The first case was amnesia, bhul jate kya karte hain. Then becomes deception when you start lying to people about your brand. That is again a case of failure. When the marketing strategies are built to cover the reality, the brand doesn't last very long. It's true that everything can't be told to the consumer, but products has to complement the brand promise. आप सब कुछ नहीं बोल सकते हो, लेकिन जो promise करे वो तो आपको बोलना ही है, वो तो आपको करना ही है. Or the company could get a great fall. Let me ask you, whose old logo? Which automaker's first logo? Yeah, Volkswagen. Very good. So what happened to Volkswagen here? They did a deception in the market. Until 2015, the brand was known for reliability, performance, and environmental credentials, right? But they had a software program which lied emission testing test and there was no looking back. That came into picture. You know that the story of Volkswagen, it miserably failed because they had a chip in the software program which used to say negative, मतलब कि वो गलत reports बता रही थी, ठीक है? So the deceptive brand promise had made the brand fall to such a level that it is now faces lawsuit, but a monumental battle to build the trust among consumer. Because you decepted people. You thought you were a big brand and you could get away by doing so. No, you cannot. Lack of change. You never change. That can be a reason of failure. When the marketing strategies are built to cover up the realities, the brand doesn't last for long. So what happened? It's true that everything can be told. Yeah, lack of change. Sorry. So let me ask you, when they didn't, I'll give you an example of why when brands don't change and they fail. Okay. Nokia, such a big brand, but it failed. It failed in the market. We all know that. Nokia could not connect people. Yeah. So Nokia brand failure. Nokia sat on a wall. Nokia had a great fall. Right. Once a market leader in the mobile phone industry, today is just 3% of global smartphone. Nokia had a great research and innovation. That only place where lagged behind was marketing. Nokia had set a best hardware engineers. They got the best hardware engineers, but it overlooked the fact that consumer preference was shifting from hardware to more on software. Right. Apple, iOS and other companies like Samsung were able to crush Nokia to succeed in a comparatively short span of time because they believed in software. ये touch phone, watch phone में आ रहे थे, Nokia couldn't change themselves very fast. So they could not connect. So such big companies can make such mistakes here. So we learn a lot from them. You have to be with times. Brand ego. Sometimes you have an ego here. You got a big brand and you start thinking there's no end to you. Right? So brand ego. Sometimes a successful brand, because of its ego, may get a feeling of megalomania and plans to spread its hands in every possible product category. कुछ में भी घुसो यार कि हम बड़ी ब्रांड है उसको एक्सटेंड कर दो, कोई भी प्रोडक्ट लेके आ जाओ हम बेचेंगे. होता है ना, हर कंपनी चालू होती है. तो मेगलोमेनिया क्या होता है? कंडीशन विच ए पर्सन हैज एन एग्जैगरेटेड बिलीफ इन ओन पावर एंड इंपॉर्टेंस. मेगलोमेनिया उसको बोलते हैं जब उसको लगता है कि यार दुनिया में सबसे पावरफुल मैं ही हूँ, तो ब्रांड को भी ऐसा लगता है. एंड दे स्टार्ट डाइवर्सिफाइंग इन एनी कैटेगरी दे वांट टू बी. सो एग्जांपल, so the strategy may not work for every brand. Even Amazon faced losses when they tried to launch fire range of phones. वो जो fire range of phones लेके आया तो they could not succeed themselves. So let me ask you one more question. From the jumble word, identify the brand name of the popular magazine. Yeah, Cosmopolitan is known for what? Known for what? Magazines? Yeah. So what happened to Cosmopolitan? Brand ego. So what happened? They came into yogurts here. And the world most popular international magazine, women magazine, but the famous magazine out of the brand ego launched some edible products like yogurt and fresh cheese in 1999 and predicted to be an instant success because of the existing brand image of the brand. They thought Cosmopolitan सब जानते ही है ना, yogurt ले आओ, cheese ले आओ, तो चलेगा market में, right? Any form of marketing, advertising or promotion to spread the awareness was refused by the management. These products remained in the market for more than a year and were removed by the brand, concluded they are going to stick back what they are good at. So they went back. Here are some interesting examples. Then there is something called brand paranoia. Paranoia, a feeling of fear. एक तो confident होते हैं, ego होता है, अब इसमें डर लगता है. A brand has a feeling of fear or suspicion that other people which are wrongly believe that the other people want to harm you. इनको डर लगने लगता है कि कोई भी आएगा ना मेरी बैंड बजा जाएगा, ऐसा डर लगता है उसको, उसके कारण ब्रांड फेल हो जाते हैं. This is opposite to brand ego and occurs when the brand faces too much competition and starts to lose much of its market share. This condition is characterized by reinventing the brand strategy in a short span of time. Let me ask you a question. Identify the logo symbol. Yeah. So BlackBerry क्या हुआ, उसकी स्टोरी क्या हुआ, आगे बताता हूँ मैं आपको. BlackBerry was one of the market leaders in 2007, just before iPhone was launched. BlackBerry didn't consider that iPhone to be competitor initially, perceiving it to be an enhanced mobile phone with playful features for the younger consumers. They thought that. डरे हुए थे, लेकिन ऐसा सोचा. This was where BlackBerry went wrong. iPhone turned out to be an instant hit and started to eat much market share of BlackBerry, and it appealed to business professionals as well. It was not only for youngsters, it also appealed to the business professionals. So BlackBerry, afraid of new competitor, didn't realize the touchscreen smartphone storm. कि इतने सारे टच फोन आ रहे हैं तो उनको समझ में नहीं आया कि क्या करें. But this impulsive move was focused just to curb competition, was this was never backed up with research and innovation. Hence, the company received many complaints about the desired device performances. They also came out with touch phones. So you know वो लोग अलग अलग प्रोडक्ट कैटेगरी में डाइवर्सिफाई होने लगे, and ultimately it failed. So it is also parunya. So let us find out why we should focus on brand failures. Why you should focus on failures? Business should follow and learn from others' successes and failures in order to best understand and predict their own. Failure तो आने वाले हैं आपके पास, but by understanding the failures and success of other companies or other brands, you can predict very well about your own brand. So why focus on failure? It will help you to prevent failures. Studying brand failures may generate some insight into the reason for those failures and create a list of factors that may increase the opportunity for success. I'll come straight away. This is an interesting book where I got inspired to share some of the examples. It's a very interesting book. So what we'll do is that we'll dig out some of the brands from the graveyard which died and which failed. So let us dig out some of them, the stories which made them lose their lives. Okay. And these are very interesting. Now I'll give you classic failures. I would segment it into various type of failures. So the first thing is classic failures. So classic failures, product does not have any particular bad in order to flop. The classic failures highlight fundamental marketing errors. Okay, now this is a very interesting example. It's called Ford Edsel. अब इसके पीछे आपको स्टोरी बताता हूँ. ये जो है ना, इन लोगों ने बहुत हाइप क्रिएट किया. They created a hype that we are going to launch one of the best models of Ford. And the dealers were told to keep it under curtain, मतलब उसको ढक के रखने का, किसी को बताने का नहीं. अगर आपने बताया तो आपकी फ्रेंचाइजी चली जाएगी. ऐसा हाइप क्रिएट किया. And there is something great happening. And a lot of money was spent in telling people that there is something great happening. And when it got unveiled, nobody was excited to buy this product. It miserably failed. बहुत कारणों से they did a research in the market to find out a better name for this vehicle. 10,000 नेम आए उनके पास, रिसर्च किया उन लोगों ने, और अल्टीमेटली एडसेल दिया नाम. यू नो वाई? दिस वॉज फोर्ड 2, जो है ना फोर्ड 2, जो फोर्ड 2 थे उसके पापा का नाम था एडसेल. तो कंपनी में बहुत सारे नाम आए, बट ही लाइक दिस नेम बिकॉज हिज डैड्स नेम वॉज एडसेल एंड देयर वाज नथिंग टू डू विद द व्हीकल एंड दे नेम्ड इट एडसेल एंड दे डिज़ाइन. उनको लगा कि डिज़ाइन जो है बहुत अच्छा है. एंड देयर वाज ए PR done in the PR क्या बोलते हैं, the media covered it with one of the most horrible looking cars and it is miserably failed. वो कहते हैं ना, खोदा पहाड़ और निकली चुईया, तो वैसा वाली बात हो गई. and it miserably failed. It's a classic failure. Lot of hype created. People thought there will be great thing happening, but when it got launched, nothing was very interesting for them. So it failed. It's a classic career. Learning, hyping an untested product is a mistake. वो जब पैसा उन्होंने रिसर्च में लगाया नाम ढूंढने के, वो अगर कंज्यूमर अंडरस्टैंडिंग में लगाते हैं तो शायद काम कर जाता है. राइट? सो हाइपिंग एन अनटेस्टेड प्रोडक्ट इज ए मिस्टेक. योर नेम मैटर्स. पीपल एक्चुअली गेट्स एक्सट्रेटेड एंड लुक्स काउंट इन कार. प्राइस इज इंपॉर्टेंट. सो यू थॉट यू विल क्रिएट एन हाइप एंड गेट द मनी व्हाट यू वांट. नो, इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल. द राइट रिसर्च इज इंपॉर्टेंट एंड ऑफ कोर्स द क्वालिटी इज ऑल्सो इंपॉर्टेंट. That was one of the classic example of classic failures. Another example I'll give you about idea failure. So how do an idea can break a brand? So idea failure is that many brands fail because they are simply bad ideas that haven't been properly researched. They come out with an idea and they start launching it, very big brands, and they fail miserably. The real question is that how do brand products appear in the first place? So I'll give an example. RJ Reynolds came out with smokeless cigarettes. So they came out with an idea कि अपने ना जो धुआं नहीं होता ना ऐसा सिगरेट निकालते हैं और मार्केट में बेचते हैं. But actually when they want to sell it to people, people who smoke like the smoke. They like the smoke. You cannot have a cigarette without a smoke. So they thought it's an innovative idea. Like हमारे बहुत सारे स्टार्टअप भाई लोग होते हैं ना, वो ऐसे आइडिया लेके आते हैं जो they don't do a consumer survey, but they feel that's good. So this is a startup type idea. Many of the startups, yeah, I've been interacting with them. So they don't believe that a product cannot be done like this. So what is the learning? Is that don't baffle your consumer with research. कि लोगों ने पूछा स्मोक अच्छा नहीं लगता है, ये you're baffling. You know why I often give this example कि अगर मैं डेटॉल में पूछूं आपसे कि दो चीज़ क्या खराब है, डेटॉल होता है ना एंटीसेप्टिक लोशन, उसमें क्या खराब है? स्मेल या और जलन होती है ना. तो अभी मैं क्या करता हूँ कि आई गो एज अ स्मार्ट स्टैटिस्टिकली मैंने रिसर्च किया और लोगों ने बोला 85% ने कि सर जलता बहुत और बदबू बहुत आती है, तो मैं एक प्रोडक्ट लेके आता हूँ जो जलता भी नहीं है और खुशबू आती है, और मैं उन्हीं को लेके जाता हूँ सर के पास. सर बोलते हैं जलता नहीं तो काम नहीं करता है. समझे ना? तो बोलना और महसूस करने में देयर इज अ बिग डिफरेंस. सो वट एवर दे से मे नॉट रियली, इट मे बी एन एसेट ऑफ द ब्रांड. द नेगेटिव कैन बी एसेट ऑफ द ब्रांड. वो चाय का गल्ला जो होता है ना कोने में, आप सड़क में जाते हो, वो एसेट है यार. वो आपको चाय का गल्ला भली रेखड़ी लगती होगी, टूटा हुआ मुड्डा होता होगा, अगर वो हटा दे और वहाँ पे सोफे लगाए ना, आप जाओगे भी नहीं. So there's an asset of the brand. Even the negative things come. So we don't get baffled from all this research. Why create a product for a consumer with nothing to do with you? उससे कोई लेना देना ही नहीं और ऐसा प्रोडक्ट बना लेते हो आप. One fine morning, Pepsi thought of coming out with a morning drink यार, कि सुबह उठ के Pepsi AM, कि उठो ब्रश करने के बाद Pepsi पियो. It will miserably fail. Yeah, so it failed. Pepsi couldn't think कि आप सुबह उठो ब्रश करो चाय के पहले Pepsi पीने का है. तो it will not work like that. So it failed. Then there are extension failure. People extend ना कि भाई हमारा ब्रांड तो बहुत फेमस है, आप इसको एक्सटेंड कर दो किसी भी कैटेगरी में. So extension failure is, brand extension is an addition to new product to an already established line of product or in the same name. Many companies believe that once they have created a successful brand, they can extend it to any product category. After all, it is not the product that makes a brand, rather the association which makes a brand. So I'll give an example. Harley Davidson came out with a perfume which failed miserably because they thought कि अपना नाम चलता है तो किसी में भी डाल दो. It will not work. Focus on your brand values. Don't alienate your core customers. Remember that more is less. And handle love marks with care. You know, brands are love marks, which is close to your heart. Don't do that. You know, this is a brand called Bengay. It used to have pain relieving rub. और वो जलता था, जब हम लगाते हैं ना जलता था, वो पेन रिलीविंग रब है. तो वो लोग यार उसका कैप्सूल लेके आए, एस्पिरिन टैबलेट्स, एंड दे थॉट इट विल वर्क विद द सेम ब्रांड नेम एक्सटेंडेड. इट वोंट वर्क बिकॉज आपको अब डेटॉल का मैं आपको कैप्सूल ला के दूँ कि आपको टैबलेट्स होंगे तो आप नहीं लोगे ना. सो दिस द वॉट दे वर वेरी ओवर कॉन्फिडेंट अबाउट द ब्रांड एक्सटेंशन एंड दे मेड दिस मिस्टेक. आपको लगता हो ना बड़ी बड़ी कंपनी ऐसे कैसे करती है. सो द रीजन मे बी ब्रांड ईगो और यू नो वट एवर रीजन आई टोल्ड यू. सो don't just extend. Colgate kitchen entries. They once came out with kitchen entries, masalas and you know ready to cook food. Colgate. They did that. Brand extension because I am a famous brand. Okay. Pond's toothpaste. They came out with this. सोचो एक मार्केटिंग हेड आया और उसने बोला मैं डिवीजन संभाल लूंगा. डोंट वरी. पॉन्ड्स का नाम है अपन कर ला लेंगे बस मार्केट में, है ना. यू हर्ड अबाउट चीटोस. Cheetos lip balm. It miserably failed. And a classic example many years back, I don't know many of them you will remember, there is a brand called Real Value. Ceasefire, right? So Ceasefire क्या होता था, एक छोटा सा फायर एक्सटिंग्विशर होता था जो डर के पैमाने में चलता था. मतलब कि आपके घर पे आग लग गई तो आप क्या करोगे. तो घर पे आग कभी नहीं लगती थी उस समय, पर वो ले लेते थे लोग. इट वॉज इंस्टेंट सक्सेस. तो छोटा सा होता था, आपके घर पे लगा रहता था. इट वॉज ए प्रेस्टीज वैल्यू ऑल्सो कि कभी आग लग गई तो आपके काम आ जाएगा. तो इट वॉज एन ओवरनाइट सक्सेस एंड यू नो पीपल, इट वॉज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट कंपनीज इन द कंट्री. एक दिन सुबह उन लोगों का ध्यान आया कि लेटेस्ट कम आउट होते हैं वैक्यूमाइजर. वैक्यूमाइजर क्या होते हैं कि वो जो आपकी नमकीन बिस्किट होता है ना, सीलन पड़ जाती है, तो वैक्यूमाइजर में रखोगे आप तो सीलन निकल जाएगी. तो यू नो व्हाट दे डिड दैट टाइम, देयर वाज अ चैनल कॉल्ड जी टीवी. जी ग्रुप ऑफ कंपनी, वो जो चैनल थे मीडिया, वो सारे देश में जी का ही चलता है, फर्स्ट प्राइवेट चैनल. तो वन संडे व्हेन द मूवीज वेर कमिंग, उन लोगों ने क्या किया, सारे चैनल्स में इन लोगों ने ऐड ले रखी थी. ब्रेक बम्पर. ब्रेक बम्पर मतलब जब भी ब्रेक होता है और आप अगर शिफ्ट होते दूसरे चैनल में, वहाँ पे ब्रेक होगा ना तो वैक्यूमाइजर की ऐड आएगी पूरे टाइम, पूरे मूवी में. एंड दे स्पेंड 2 करोड़ अ डे. 2 करोड़ उस जमाने में. आई रिमेंबर when I started my career in advertising, that when I saw this thing happening, it was a brake bumper, it was talk of the town, and they were advertising for vacuumizer which didn't have any market in India, and they spent 2 crores कि रियल वैल्यू चल जाएगा यार, अपना तो है ना मार्केट में, दम है ना बॉस. एंड रेस्ट वॉज हिस्ट्री. या बाकी सब बंद हो गई कंपनी, इतनी बंद हुई कि रियल वैल्यू एक्सटिंग्विशर बंद हो गया, है ना. हम तो डूबेंगे सनम, तुम्हें भी ले डूबेंगे. 2 करोड़. तो ये वाली बात हो गई वहाँ पे. ओके, सो डोंट जस्ट एक्सटेंड, बी केयरफुली एक्सटेंडेड, अंडरस्टैंड द कंज्यूमर वांट्स एंड नीड्स बिफोर एक्सटेंडिंग द कैटेगरी. उस कैटेगरी में चाहिए कि नहीं चाहिए. समटाइम्स इट मे बी टू अर्ली. ओके, वैक्यूमाइजर शायद आप काम आता हो, बट इट मे बी टू अर्ली. देन वी हैव प्राइसिंग फेलियर्स. प्राइसिंग फेलियर्स मीन्स प्राइस बहुत ज़्यादा. इंडिया में बीटल बिकते नहीं है ना. सो विद एन एक्सटेंसिव प्राइस टैग and the overpriced car failed in Indian market with sale of only 400 cars in the country. Beetle लिखने में अच्छा है, but 25 लाख से शुरू हुई ये गाड़ी. So nobody is interested in buying in India. Then Shubhaji sir, PR failures, your department, yeah. So PR failures, how did it happen? So you know it is expected that एक ना एक बार तो किसी ब्रांड का क्राइसिस आएगा ही आएगा. And many a times the PR failures can also fail the brand. The brand can fail because of PR value. And I always say to all my colleagues, all my students, that you know PR is not getting something printed in the newspaper. PR is something stopped getting printed in the newspaper. It's not that कि अपने बारे में छापो. अपने बारे में जब नहीं छपाना हो तो नहीं छपाना चाहिए. बट अगर आपका PR अच्छा नहीं है तो जो जरूरत नहीं वो भी छपेगा. Right? So that is what is important element in PR. So what happened to PR failure? You know this. There was periods benzene contamination in the bottle. This is a clear drinking water, and there was a contamination of benzene. So इन लोगों ने response ही नहीं किया. The brand whose whole identity was based around the natural purity पे the brand positioning was that कि उसकी जो purity वो natural है, और उसके अंदर what happened is that there was a benzene contamination found. So they don't take it very seriously. So what they did, they established a 24-hour hotline in Britain, but it was a global issue, and they said hotline on in UK only, or they were addressing that all politics. So all politics can be local, but the brands are global. They forget about it. They didn't address it properly. They didn't come out. They always blame the others, right? So there was contradictory messages, there was conflicting messages, there was incorrect information emerging from different divisions, and ultimately they had a big crisis. Right? So don't hide the truth, come forward, don't breach the consumer's trust, because there is a perception image, there is an emotional connect with the consumer. Accept the global brands need coherent communication policies. Jabbers, इसने तो बहुत सारे mistakes करी अपनी life में. It's a baby food. So you know to save money, एक जमाने में in the same bottle they came out with Jabbers for adults. That was a big mistake, because वो पैसा बचाने के लिए पैकेजिंग में एक ही पैकेजिंग में यूज़ कर लो, बट यू डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दैट पैकेजिंग का भी एक इमेज होता है. सो दैट वाज नॉट टेकन वेरी वेल. बट इसमें क्या हुआ, इस केस में देयर वेर ग्लास पीसीज फाउंड इन द बॉटल. बच्चों का फूड और जो ग्लास ग्रैनुल्स होता है ना वो मिले अंदर. एंड यू नो व्हाट हैपेंड हियर, इट वाज अ बिग ब्लंडर. सो देयर वाज अ क्राइसिस एंड नोबडी रिस्पॉन्डेड टू द क्राइसिस. तो क्या हुआ कि एक स्टेट था, स्टेट ऑफ मैरीलैंड, उन लोगों ने इनके सारे प्रोडक्ट बैन कर दिए कि जर्बर का कोई भी प्रोडक्ट अपने देश अपने स्टेट में बिकेगा ही नहीं. तो व्हाट दे डिड, दे स्टार्टेड फाइटिंग ए लीगल केस अगेंस्ट द स्टेट इंस्टेड ऑफ रिजॉल्विंग द प्रॉब्लम अबाउट द प्रोडक्ट इटसेल्फ. एंड दे वन द क्या बोलते लीगल बैटल, बट दे डिड अंडरस्टैंड कि दे वर मेकिंग ए बिगर मिस्टेक देन फाइटिंग ए लीगल बैटल विद देम. सो प्रोवाइड इंफॉर्मेशन, एक्ट टफ, and that was a big mistake which they made. These are international brands which made such mistakes. Then cultural failures. Sometimes you don't understand the culture and the brand fails. So cultural failures, many companies have confused in the era of globalization. That I'll come back to the example. You know what Hallmark does? Why Hallmark was failure in France? Hallmark क्या है? What is the Hallmark? What Hallmark क्या करती है? Cards, yeah. So they have personalized messages. They have got generic messages, and you can buy any other card, and there is a message which is there. But in France, people don't like it. They don't want somebody else to write your message for others. And if you give that message to someone, they feel offended. कि एक message भी लिखना नहीं आता है. हम तो खरीद के देते हैं ना. So Hallmark failed there because they didn't understand the cultural differences. कि people don't like pre-printed messages for wishing them written by someone else. So that was a big failure of Hallmark. So you have to learn. Brands need to acknowledge cultural differences. Right? Chevy Nova in Spain. In Spain, you know, Chevy Nova means it doesn't go. जो आगे नहीं बढ़ेगा. That was a name. It failed. So you don't understand the cultural difference and you remember कि दुनिया में अपन तो famous है ही यार. चलो डाल दो, हो जाएगा, चलेगा नहीं चलेगा. You know what Mercedes-Benz did? So in China, they named it as Benzi. And Benzi in Russian, in Chinese language means rush to die. So big failure. So they wanted to have like, you know, अलग-अलग नाम होते छोटे छोटे चाइनीज़ को, तो उनको अपने मर्सिडीज बेंज को बेंजी रखते हैं. एंड दे फ्लोटेड इट एंड इट मिजरेबली फेल्ड बिकॉज बेंजी मेंट रश टू डाई. दिस वाज अ बिग फेलियर बिकॉज यू नो विक्स फेल्ड इन जर्मनी बिकॉज ऑफ व्हाट? कैन समवन टेल मी? या इन जर्मनी वी स्पोकन एज एफ. फोक्सवैगन नहीं बोलते हम लोग. तो विक्स फेल्ड देयर. So this was not a proper name to be used there. So this is our personal example. Jago in Africa. So you know, packaging, how the cultural differences happen. So these people from Africa came to India and they approached us and they wanted to make a design for milk, condensed milk. Package होता है ना उसका. तो usually हमारे डिज़ाइनर क्या करेंगे? गाय का फोटो होगा ना, दूध लगाएंगे गाय का फोटो, और वो जब प्रेजेंट किया, so you know culturally it was rejected because there in Africa they thought कि वो you know उसमें गाय का मीट है, because they are not so literate and condensed milk है तो cultural differences होते हैं. So if you have गाय का photo, it means there is a beef or there is a गाय का meat inside and that has been sold. So you have to change it through milk cans or milk bottles. Understand the difference. That is what happens there. Then we have people failures. When people are the reason for the brand getting failed. Interesting example. People fail when people behind the brand are the main ambassadors. If those people fail out of each other, act illegally or make negative statements about the product, then the crisis may grow and may develop quickly. It is true when people at highest level of company are caught acting irresponsibly. Example, Enron. You heard about this example, many of them. Yeah. So there was a crisis and the documents were not properly given, but they never responded correctly. So don't lie, they started lying. So the senior people of the organization, they started lying and you know defending it, decepting it. So you can see what happened. Be legal, be open. Very interesting example. You know, you heard about these 4 girls? They're the famous models in America and they started together a fashion cafe. सोच सकते हो आप 4 girls starting a cafe. Good initiative. But what happened? They started talking negative about each other. So from catwalks, they start having cat fights. Yeah. So in you know, don't allow the failing formula. Have a logical brand association. So they started talking about each other, something which was not desired in public forum. They say कि Naomi is always busy with her boyfriends. She is always found on beach. She is not bothered about the cafe. They start talking like this. And the brand failed. They didn't work at all. So rebranding failures. Sometimes you start rebranding and it fails. I will not go to the definition. I will give you straight of the example. Price Waterhouse. Do you imagine one day they thought of getting it the name as Monday. Fresh ideas, fresh thoughts. So they wanted to rebrand it as Monday, and it wouldn't work at all. So they come out with another name called PWC. Otherwise, you would have known it as Monday. Monday. Yeah. So this is what happened. You heard about Royal Mail? It is one of the known mail services in US. One fine morning they thought यार इसका नाम है ना consignia देना चाहिए. लोग कंफ्यूज हो गए, इसको बोलने में गड़बड़ी हो रही थी लोगों को. एंड पता नहीं कैसे सोच के आते हैं लोग, consignia, we have to be competing with Federal Express or UPS. So they came out with this multinationals who were there. So let us fight. Our Royal Mail is very fuddy-duddy old one. So let us compete with the newcomers. And they came out with a name called consignia. And it failed. They had to come back to Royal Mail. So Payless Drugstore to Rite Aid. Payless was known and Rite Aid took over. And they thought okay, this will work. But no, people didn't want to accept that Payless. And slowly what happened, Payless started having less showrooms now, less chemist shops in US. Because they took over, they thought कि they will kill it. Like कई बार ये होता है कि you want to kill a brand and start. Coke, when they came to the country, they wanted to kill Thumbs Up. Right? They bought it. They wanted Thumbs Up bottling plants, but not Thumbs Up. They couldn't kill it because it was such a strong brand. And today, if you calculate, average 60% of the revenue come from Thumbs Up and baki remaining se. Such a strong brand. Learnings: don't deviate from your formula. Don't compete with irrelevant rivals. Don't overextend the brand. Don't be scared of your logo. New technology failure. Internet and new technology failures is another reason. Beautiful examples. There is less control over brand message. I'll not talk about this. I'll straight come to the Intel. Such a big brand also failed once. In 1997, a professor of mathematics found a glitch in the Intel Pentium chip. He discovered that the mathematical function for the chip, complicated formula, were not consistent and accurate. So he tested in various chips and he found that the calculation is not accurate. There are deviation in the result. And he wrote to Intel. So they said, ये तो किसी किसी में होता होगा. So they didn't took it very seriously. Then it was so serious that IBM, which was using Intel chip, refused to buy Intel chip. Then they took it very seriously and they took back all the chips which were put. So they can also make mistakes. So take those things very seriously. है ना? So remember that bad news makes front page. जैसे ही आया सब जगह फ्री में पब्लिसिटी हो गया इंटेल का. Yeah. Don't ignore online criticism. आजकल तो online criticism होता है ना, तो दो धारी तलवार है social media. If you don't perform well, people can write about you. So don't ignore that. It is strength also, but for the brands, you have to be very careful. Don't ignore those, and you have to respond quickly. If you don't respond, it may aggravate. Monitor your critics. Another technological failure, Boo.com was the first global footwear site in the world, and they started selling online sportswear. अभी तो common है, उस समय पे उन लोगों ने चालू किया. And they didn't focus on the technology. So what happened there? Heavy use of Flash software, animated key features on the site. And उस जमाने में there was a Miss Boo who was supposed to be there to answer your questions. She never came to life. वो कभी आई नहीं site में. Technological failure. Many internet users didn't have the web browser that could support the technology. और उस समय जो हमारे 1999 में PCs में बहुत स्लो मॉडम होते थे, वो ट्र की आवाज़ आती थी ना, उस टाइम पर आपने ऐसा लॉन्च किया जिसमें एनिमेटेड हो, बहुत सारा हैवी फाइल्स हो, और फ्लैश के थ्रू यूज़ हो, एंड इंटरनेट में सपोर्ट करने के लिए मिस बू है, तो कुछ नहीं आया. फॉर ग्राफिक इंटेंसिव रेट, attraction of Miss Boo offered visitors to chance to rotate items before they could make the final purchase. So they could rotate. Sub technologically they made it advanced, but it never worked. And it failed. It backfired. And that time they thought Mac users will use it, but that was also not done. So the learning was hire the right people who give you right advices. Technological sound and advanced होने से सब कुछ possible नहीं है. Understand the importance of timing. Make sure your web site works. Okay. Technology sometimes timing feature. You were excellent in technology, but गलत time हो गया है. This is one of my last example. It's a very interesting, very close to my heart. There was a brand called Iridium. It was a multinational. ठीक है? So what they did, Iridium came out, जब हमारे पास है ना ये पेजर होते थे, मोबाइल फोन्स नहीं होते थे, उस टाइम पे ये लोग लेके आए सैटेलाइट फोन, जो कि एक देश से दूसरे देश में आप बात कर सकते हो. And they had a very beautiful tagline, and the tagline said, where geography is history. The company was history. Because it was before time, much before time. तब तो मोबाइल फोन भी नहीं थे हमारे पास, हमारे पास पेजर भी नहीं थे, और तब ये प्रोडक्ट लेके आ गया था मार्केट में. सो दे सेड ज्योग्राफी इज हिस्ट्री एंड नोबडी बॉट एक्सपेंसिव. कोई समझते ही नहीं थे कि ऐसा हो सकता है कभी. ठीक है, तो दे वर बिफोर टाइम. सो देर वर मेनी फेलियर्स विच आई एक्सप्लेन्ड. दिस आर द सम ऑफ द मेजर फेलियर्स. सो conception of the product idea or specification of product may be faulty. Cost of production may be higher than the estimated cost. So you thought something ये इतने पैसे में बन जाएगा, but ultimately you find the cost of production very high. It may be reason to fail. Market changes may not be understood properly. Nokia was an example. Stressing product attributes incorrectly. The product performance may be unsatisfactory and you start saying something which you are not able to perform. Technical and production problems might have been underestimated. Okay, design of the product may not match the need of the consumer. So you got a nice product design, but it may not match the consumer expectation. The strength of the competition may not be properly studied. That is also a reason of brand failure. Products may be understood in the market untimely, beforehand या गलत टाइम पे आपने सोच लिया हो कि प्रोडक्ट एडवांस है बट गलत टाइम पे आपने लॉन्च कर दिया. इट कैन हैपन दैट वे ऑल्सो. पुअर पैकेजिंग, inappropriate size, inadequate promotion, wrong promotion you may have, and finally faulty pricing of the product may also be a reason of the brand failure. So the learnings, brand, as I said, is an image. Don't play around with that. Brands are emotional bonds and are relationship oriented. Never underestimate the power of brand. Market research is the most important aspect to all the startups and to the grown-up brands. Keep auditing your brand value and elements contributing to the equity. Health report. Why I am saying so? Why I am saying it is the most important thing. Brand सिर्फ advertising से नहीं बनती है. There are many stakeholders. The employees are the stakeholders of creating a brand. So don't underestimate कि आपने सोच लिया कि मैंने ब्रांड में एडवर्टाइजिंग कर दी है तो मेरी ब्रांड बन गई है. No, there are equity holders, there are stakeholders who talk about you. You don't pay your employees on time. Your employees are not satisfied. Your stakeholders are not paid because you're a big brand. It may not work for long. So brand is an overall experience, as I said. So it is not just by advertising कि मैंने बाहर external market में बोल दिया है, internal market में नहीं बोला तो perception चली जाएगी. If I say Tata is the most trustful company, 100 years of trust, then the trust has to come within also, ना. जब मैं टाटा के साथ ट्रस्ट करूँ तो मेरा everything should be trustworthy, and that's why it becomes a trustworthy thing. Otherwise it will not happen. It may create a brand, but it may create a perception, but that perception may backfire. It's very important. Investment matters. पैसा नहीं और आप सोचते हो ब्रांड बनाने का. नो, जितना पैसा होगा उतने ही लोगों तक ब्रांड पहुंचेगा, है ना. हम, मैं ये नहीं बोलता आपको एडवर्टीजमेंट टेलीविजन में देना पड़ेगा, प्रिंट में देना पड़ेगा. आई नेवर से दैट. आई से इफ यू आर स्पेंडिंग 10 rupees, you will reach 10 people to create your image. If you are earning 100 rupees, then you reach to 100 people. So it is a ratio of investment, how much you do and so much of people you receive. So you can't expect spending 10 rupees and expecting कि 100 रुपये का कैसे बिजनेस हो जाए, है ना. कई बार मुझे आके लोग बोलते हैं सर ऐसा क्या करना चाहिए कि 100 करोड़ लगाएं और 200 करोड़ मिल जाए. तो मैं यहाँ बैठा नहीं रहता ना, मैं वही कर रहा होता. सो दे थिंक एवरीथिंग एडवर्टाइजिंग से सब हो जाएगा. एडवर्टाइजिंग कैसे करेंगे? प्रोडक्ट ही खराब है आपका, प्राइसिंग गलत है आपकी, प्लेसमेंट नहीं है यार, आप प्रमोशन ही गलत कर रहे हो तो कैसे हो जाएगा? इट कैन नॉट वर्क लाइक दैट. शेयर ऑफ वॉइस मे नॉट नेसेसरी बी शेयर ऑफ मार्केट. हाँ, कि आपने शेयर ऑफ वॉइस मतलब बहुत सारी एडवर्टाइजिंग कर दी तो आपको लगता है शेयर ऑफ मार्केट हो जाएगा, आपको उतना मार्केट शेयर मिल जाएगा. नहीं, आपके प्रोडक्ट की जरूरत ही ना हो मार्केट में और आप एडवर्टाइजिंग कर रहे हो तो नहीं चलेगा. आप जोर जोर से चिल्लाते हो कि मैं हूँ आ जाओ, कोई नहीं खरीदने वाला आपको. So it is never necessary that if you have good advertising or heavy advertising that you will get a share of market. It's a combination of many things which I explained to you in your last presentation. It's just not advertising. So people come and say, advertising से sir इतना सेल तो आ ही जाएगा. Yes, it is a ratio of sales, but not everything. You have to have the product which is needed by the consumers. यार, you have to have the price which they are ready to pay. and it should be available in the place they want, and then they buy. The promotion has to be perfectly, the positioning has to be perfectly as the relevant. Then only they will buy. Advertising alone can't do. Yes, advertising is important. Advertising makes sense. How many people believe in advertising? And how many don't? Yeah, there are people who didn't raise their hand. Why do you don't believe in advertising?
Product quality depends more than this.
Yeah. So what is advertising? Let me explain what is advertising. What is,
Narration of the product.
yeah, it is the communication of the product. If I don't tell that I got a product, how will people know about it? Right? So it is basically needed. वो कहते हैं ना हम लोग कि सिगरेट की एडवर्टाइजिंग में नहीं होनी चाहिए. क्यों नहीं होनी चाहिए सर? लिकर की एडवर्टाइजिंग नहीं होनी चाहिए. बोलते हैं ना हम लोग सरोगेटिव एडवर्टाइजिंग करते हैं, हमें नहीं होनी चाहिए. क्यों नहीं होनी चाहिए? क्यों नहीं होती है? एडवर्टाइजिंग क्यों नहीं होती है? सिगरेट की, लिकर की एडवर्टाइजिंग क्यों नहीं होती है? या हाँ, people can consume that, you know. What else? Yeah, Meghna, can you tell me why people don't advertise for cigarette and for liquor? In India, why it's not allowed? What ethically? Yeah, tell me what is that ethical issue? Yeah. Harmful for? Health. हाँ, और कुछ? Yeah. कॉन्शियस लेवल पे नहीं आना चाहिए, मतलब इट इज इंजूरियस फॉर हेल्थ, राइट? सो जब मैं एडवर्टाइजमेंट करता हूँ तो लोग कंज्यूम करते हैं, राइट? विच इज बैड फॉर हेल्थ. इट मतलब एडवर्टाइजिंग काम करता है. इसका मतलब एडवर्टाइजिंग काम करता है, तभी आपने बैन किया ना. आपने उसको प्रोडक्ट बनाने दिया, उसको प्राइसिंग करने दी, उसको प्लेसमेंट दुकानों में लगाने दिया, बट एडवर्टाइजिंग के बाद में नहीं करने का, क्योंकि एडवर्टाइजिंग करने से क्या दुनिया खराब हो जाएगी. इसका मतलब एडवर्टाइजिंग वर्क्स, प्रूव्ड. क्यों ईडी? तो इट मीन्स एडवर्टाइजिंग वर्क्स यार. सो बिलीव इन दैट इट वर्क्स. इट्स अ कम्युनिकेशन. कम्युनिकेशन से हाँ, उसका एंड रिजल्ट ये हो सकता है कि लोगों के लिए दुनिया में खराब होता है, हेल्थ के लिए खराब होता है, वो अल्टीमेट होता है, बट इट मीन्स एडवर्टाइजिंग वर्क्स यार. या सो डोंट रेस्ट ऑन योर ओल्ड लॉरेल्स, कीप इट रिलेवेंट. मैंने पहले ऐसे थे हम लोग, तो हमारी दुनिया ऐसी थी. इट विल नॉट वर्क अनलेस यू मेक इट रिलेवेंट इन टूडेज वर्ल्ड. यू टू मेक इट रिलेवेंट. पहले आप कुछ भी थे, सो डोंट जस्ट रेस्ट ऑन योर ओल्ड लॉरेल्स. यू नो, बहुत पहले जैसे HMT घड़ी थी, मोटी मोटी घड़ियाँ बनाती थी. यू नो, आई रिमेंबर HMT में नौकरी करते हुए लोगों की शादियाँ जल्दी हो जाती थी. HMT में काम करता है यार. ऐसी बड़ी बड़ी कंपनियाँ हुआ करती थी और HMT बदली नहीं. एक दिन एक फाइन टाइटन नाम की कंपनी आई, उसने बढ़िया बढ़िया डिज़ाइन की घड़ियाँ बनाने चालू करी और वो HMT कंपनी की घड़ियाँ बंद होने लग गई. ऐसा होता है ना. सो डोंट जस्ट रेस्ट ऑन योर ओल्ड लॉरेल्स, कीप इट रिलेवेंट. नेवर अंडर एस्टिमेट डेविडिज्म, द पावर ऑफ बीइंग स्मॉल. दिस इज अ नाइस थिंग विच आई वुड लाइक टू शेयर यू. डेविडिज्म मतलब वो डेविड और गोलियत थे ना. तो गोलियत वॉज ह्यूज राक्षस एंड डेविड वॉज अ स्मॉल बॉय. उसने राक्षस को जब हरा, राक्षस सबको तंग करता था गाँव में आके, तो उसने क्या किया, उसने गुलेल ली और गुलेल से सीधे हेड पे मारा, उसके राइट जगह पे मारा, और वो जो गोलियत था वो मर गया. पर डेविड वॉज स्मॉल यार. सो कंपनियां भी जो स्मॉल होती हैं, डोंट अंडर एस्टिमेट देम. दे आर फ्लेक्सिबल टू मूव, दे कैन मूव एनी टाइम दे वांट. बड़ी कंपनियां होती है ना, डिसीजन लेते लेते 6 महीने लग जाते हैं कि ये प्रोडक्ट लाना चाहिए मार्केट में कि नहीं लाना चाहिए, या लाया तो उसको हटाना चाहिए. उसके लिए हियरार्की इतनी बड़ी होगी, करते 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 7-8 महीने निकल जाएंगे. बट स्टार्टअप कैन डू इट इमीडिएटली. A small company can do it small. So don't underestimate the power of being small. Nirma was small, but it had shown a lesson to the world, right? So don't underestimate the power of being small. So that is what the lesson is. Learn from Helios. Love customer, not just products. आपके पास कोई कंप्लेन आती है ना, अरे इन्हें वापर वो नहीं आवे साहब, ऐसा बोलता है ना ओनर कि इसको यूज़ करना नहीं आता है, पागल लोग हैं यार, पता नहीं कहाँ से इंडिया के कंज्यूमर आ जाते हैं. अपना प्रोडक्ट तो कैसा फर्स्ट क्लास है यार. नो, डोंट बी इन लव विथ योर प्रोडक्ट, बी इन लव विथ योर कंज्यूमर्स. अंडरस्टैंड, यू हैव टू कम पीछे से, मतलब कंज्यूमर को जानते हुए पाओ. अगर कंज्यूमर आपको प्रॉब्लम दे रहा है तो आप उसको सॉल्व करो. यू कांट टीच कंज्यूमर टू हाउ टू यूज योर प्रोडक्ट. यू हैव टू मेक द प्रोडक्ट सच ए वे दैट कंज्यूमर ऑटोमेटिकली लर्न्स हाउ टू यूज इट. दैट्स वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? So, before I end, I have to say there are no secrets of success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failures, right? Thank you very much for being there.